retiring. Don't believe that, I'm going to give up this game for a vaccine mandate or staying unvaccinated. Don't believe any of that shit, man. Like really be aware of what's being said. Pay attention to what's going on out in the real world. People are losing their jobs to these mandates. People are having to make choices with their own lives, which I respect. And I don't want to sit here and play on people's emotions either. Just use logic. What would you do? If you felt uncomfortable going into the season when you were promised that you would have exemptions or that you didn't have to be forced to get the vaccine. For some odd reason, people love to have my name in the mix of just some BS. Like, just hearing the way people speak with so much conviction about what I should be doing with my life and what, my teammates should be feeling about me, what the organization be feeling about me. You think I really want to lose money? You think I really want to give up on my dream to go after a championship? You think I really just want to give up my job? You think I really just want to sit at home and not go after the things with my teammates that I've been able to grow with, to learn that it takes sacrifice in this space? Because we could be easily at home chilling with our families, but we're choosing to go out there and perform. And even in that job, like that's a dream come true. I've been working on that since I was in 4th grade. You think I want to give up my livelihood because of a mandate, because I don't have accommodations, because I'm unvaccinated? Come on.
Well, you could just get vaccinated and have all those things like tomorrow. But Chris Broussard, what is your reaction to all this from Kyrie?
I'm glad to hear Kyrie finally say something. It's been weeks since we heard from him. We're not hearing from anonymous sources claiming to speak for him, so that's good. It was hard to make sense of a lot of what Kyrie was saying. I'm going to be honest. I watched the whole 20-minute thing. I thought he spent a lot of time saying a lot of nothing. He said a lot of words, but he said a lot of nothing. There were two things I felt like he gave clarity on as he jumped from savior to victim to chastiser of the media to martyr. He played all these different roles in the 20-minute Instagram Live. But the two things that he gave clarity on, I believe, one is that he said he's not getting vaccinated because he doesn't feel comfortable taking the vaccine. And he said everybody should have the right to do what they want to do with their bodies. Okay. He didn't tell us why he doesn't feel comfortable, whether it's religious, whether it's moral, whatever it is, scientific, nothing. Just he doesn't feel comfortable. And secondly, and very importantly, that he's not retiring, which is good to hear. It's good to hear because we all love watching Kyrie Irving play basketball. Good to hear because he loves the game of basketball, as he said. And good to hear because the Nets can now go about the business of trying to trade him. Not because Kyrie's not a great player, not because he's a perfect fit with Kevin Durant and James Harden. Those three fit together very nicely. But if Kyrie is going to make this decision for himself, doing, as he said, what's best for me, then the Nets have to do what's best for them, which is trading Kyrie. It's just too many distractions, too much high maintenance, and all of this stuff going on. And then Kyrie said, don't play on your, think with your emotions or don't be emotional, just use logic. I'm going to use logic, Kyrie. Don't tell us you're not anti-vaccination. I get it. You're not against those who've taken the vaccine. But you clearly are anti-vaccination. Because if you were not anti-vaccination, for yourself at least, and for many others, then you wouldn't give up the game you've loved since the 4th grade. You wouldn't walk away from your teammates and try to win a championship. You wouldn't walk away from the organizations that's given you $136 million. All right? You wouldn't do those things if you weren't anti-vaccination. So don't accuse us of not using logic when you're not using logic, Wilds.
Correct. I'm using logic, Broussard. When you coming at old KW, you're like Kyrie, blaming the media. I'm trying my best here. Look,
I wasn't
Broussard
blaming
hit it
you.
on the head. I know, I'm not kidding. I know. Look, Broussard hit it on the head. this whole IG Live felt like a rough draft, right down to the yellow piece of paper that he had scribbled on. And it mirrors, Nick, a lot of his thoughts on the vaccination process and the mandate. There's something there, but it wasn't really thought out well enough to have a concrete point. Like Broussard said, he said he's not getting the vaccination. Why? We don't know. The answer we don't know, why we don't know, is because he doesn't know. He hasn't quite figured this whole thing out. And I just want to take a second, Nick, to talk about him chastising the media. And it proves how poorly thought out this whole thing has been. At the end of his 24-minute and 55-second IG Live, he says, nobody's going to hijack my voice. See if they play this on their TV channels. Gladly. My friend, the running time for a half-hour TV show is 22 minutes of content and commercials. If you do a 25-minute IG Live, you're putting the TV guys in a bad spot. We don't quite know what to run. And that is the reason why this whole thing is poorly thought out. And I know I'm joking around, but look, you could sit down with any journalist, any podcaster, any scientist. You could do articles, you could do anything you want. But a poorly lit, jumpy IG Live is not it. And it's indicative of the way you got your message out is the same thing that's happening. It feels very rough draft, and you're not quite sure of anything. So that was my take.
So listen, I think you guys both make really good points. I also think a few of these comments from Kyrie, not to be self-important, but it's the honest opinion, I think the opinions of others, were directed squarely at me. And where he mentions the retirement thing, we'll get to that in a moment, where he said something very interesting in part that we played, where he said, for some reason, people want to talk about me. So I'm going to give Kyrie the benefit of the doubt to understand that he understands right now why everyone is talking about him. Right now, he's a massive story. But a few weeks ago, before the vaccine issues had come to light, this show was the only place talking about Kyrie, and it was because I reported that he had, when he found out the Nets were shopping him, threatened to retire. And so I want to respond to some of this because Broussard used an important word. The victim mentality throughout this IG Live, which if you didn't watch it, just imagine back when you were in high school and someone had to do a presentation and they clearly hadn't read the book. That's the feeling you got watching this. And the victim mentality that he is being persecuted, when it's a city of 10 million people that I live in, he lives in, we all got the same rules. It's a league of 450 guys that are all under the same NBA vaccine mandate rules, or not the vaccine rules, and then the players in not Los Angeles so much, but certainly San Francisco and New York City have specific rules to their municipality. And he said in a quote that we didn't run, wasn't something I foresaw coming or I prepared for or had the chance to strategize on. That's an indictment on either Kyrie or the people he surrounds himself by. Because if at no point did anyone say to Kyrie or did he say to himself, well, I live in an incredibly progressive, liberal, whatever you want to call it, city. We have heard there might be municipalities that do vaccine mandates. How could that affect my ability to play? That is an oversight. The level, you don't move to Miami and get hit by a hurricane and say, I never thought these happened. Like, it is the adult, responsible thing to be thinking about the potential things that could come down the road. All of us were hit by the pandemic, off guard by the pandemic. But the things that have happened since then, some of them have been pretty predictable. So a lot of this made sense but didn't. I know that there is now almost this small group or growing group of people that are saying, well, Kyrie Irving is fighting for the reason he's not getting vaccinated is because he's standing up for the people who have lost their jobs. Okay, maybe that's the current rationale, but why then was he flirting with the idea that the vaccine magnetizes you? And why then, when he did the great stuff he did at Standing Rock with the kids, was he the one person at the school refusing to wear a mask? That's got nothing to do with a bigger fight. That's got to do with what the fight that this actually is, which is I want the freedom to do anything I want and face no consequences for it. So that's where he's at from the vaccine and, kind of the non-basketball standpoint. Broussard, quickly here from a basketball standpoint. Am I crazy for saying the Nets have no choice but to trade him? Because his contract's up after this year. They're not playing him this year. This is their only chance to get something for him. And I mentioned a bunch of trades yesterday. I'm going to zero in on one specifically. I really think Kyrie for Kristaps works. And here's why. It's not just that Texas will never have a vaccine mandate. You're allowed to do anything you want with your own body in Texas. Well, some people are allowed to do anything they want with their own body in Texas, so he doesn't have to worry about the vaccine mandate. But if the Mavs say, man, if we trade for him, he might retire, wouldn't the Mavs be okay with that? Would essentially be amnestying Kristaps. It would be getting Kristaps off the books and having no repercussions for it. So it's like either we get a guy who would fit perfectly next to Luka, or we get off Kristaps' deal and pay no penalty. Like, that's the move that makes sense for the Nets, because right now his trade value is as low